Jazz funerals, African American celebration of life and death. I have chosen jazz funerals for my teach back, um, mainly because it is such a bigger celebration of life, um, for what is already something that is held sacred and dear within the Black community. And I have just always been fascinated by just the level of life that's just within the celebrations that I've seen. So, grief and loss within the Black community, uh, the death of a loved one has always been an opportunity to support the family and friends of the decedent, but it's also an opportunity for the community to get together, uh, to support and celebrate one another, and then to also, as a community, participate in the celebration of that person's life. So, for every stage of grieving and the burial process, even when it comes to the wake or the family viewing, the music that's chosen, that's utilized, um, that music either holds something near and dear to the person, to the decedent, um, including videos that may be shown or shared in photos. The service itself will have the sharing of sympathy cards or condolences, uh, stories, memorials, tributes that are also shared about the decedent. And mixed in with that will also be music, which is utilized for uplifting uh, not only the family, but anyone in attendance at the funeral. The message from the minister is something that's also um, focuses on the loss that you're there to recognize, but also to celebrate that that person is going on to something much more better, bigger, better, brighter. Um, that there is something more beyond this physical realm of our lives. And so, even with that, there's music mixed in with the pastor's message. With grief and loss in the African American culture, there's a strong sense of spirituality and religious belief that there is comfort in knowing that there is life, a life in the hereafter, after a physical death. A popular and historic funeral process that was a which has become a natural part of the Black community is the funeral process that is the jazz funeral. Now, the jazz funeral is one ceremony that, in checking into it, it dates back to the time of slavery and a way of maintaining the West African influence and their extravagance and in their ceremony. Um, and given the history of Black America with having to find ways of dealing and coping with sudden death and loss and uh, setbacks through uh, segregation and Jim Crow, and then even continued unrest and uh, discourse within the 60s and 70s. Um, a homegoing celebration of this sort led to the community to be able to celebrate not only that person, the community, but to uplift and to celebrate life in a way that they may not have been able to do at that time. But the jazz funerals have become an important part of that grief process. Jazz funerals are comprised of small bands, families, friends, community, and they are uh, and with the process of a processional that takes them to the cemetery for the interment, there's actually a second line that is also part of the jazz band, where this might include people that were witnessing the initial processional and they too would like to participate. after the interment, the band, the band plays more upbeat music, moving the crowd, and there's a rhythmic dance and the strut um, that that follows with the processional as they continue on home or even to favorite spots and places of the deceased. So the one thing about New Orleans is it is influenced by French, Spanish, British, and West African cultures. And then that leads to its rich and complicated history because of the slave trade of West African tribes in the early 1800s. It kind of serves as a foundation for that merging with the French and Spanish and British cultures. Um, and so New Orleans culture remains mystical and fascinating to quite a few, even to this day. So, also, uh, which is quite interesting, is that another influence of the jazz band would also be the Mardi Gras Indians, who uh, performers who dress up. So there's also a bit of the culture that is influenced by the Native American heritage down in that area. So for the jazz funeral, it's also led by a parade master who is someone who's leading the walks in front of the procession, and um, the parade master will lead them through the neighborhood, down certain streets, sometimes through major thoroughfare. But the outfits are colorful. The parade master is decked out, and will also you may see them with the parasol. And so you'll also see a horse-drawn carriage, the glass drawn carriage that has the coffin on display. Um, and then in in traditional jazz funerals, uh, once everything is done at the cemetery and they are leaving and we're celebrating, they'll also play when the saints go marching in. So, what's cool about um, the jazz funeral is that it reminds us of an area that rich in culture. There is something with the jazz bands that I think will remain our societal standard in New Orleans, um, because it is an affirmation of life from the beginning to end. So, jazz bands or jazz funerals, I thank you for your time, and take care.